The way of water has no beginning and has no end.
It's kind of just there.
It's all around you. You don't even know it.
Do you see it? It sees you.
Welcome to Shallow Cinema.
It's been a while. 2023, here we are, after the holidays, and sore throats, and family, and bull. Sorry, censor.
It's all about family.
It is all about family.
The last episode that we had, my voice completely went out. I did open up the entire podcast episode explaining just a little bit about that. But my voice went completely out for almost like 3 days. And then it's about a week later, I was getting better, and yours went out.
And now here we are, finally ready to talk about
Avatar.
maybe the biggest movie of all time until 2024 when Avatar 3 comes out.
If I was led to believe anything else, this is the biggest movie of all time.
I don't think the numbers I have are up to date, but
Dude,
pretty big.
With this small break that we took, every single day, it's always Avatar, Way of Water, breaking new records. Now in the top 10, now in the top 5, now in the top 2, back to the top 5.
But I'll give a shout out to something not Avatar related. Way to go, Megan. Like,
yeah, it actually,
the movie that
actually beat it.
Reclaimed the box office from Avatar in January. And also everyone thought would be dumb. And turns out you're so good. They've already given you a release date for Megan 2.0.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, this is the last thing I saved, was that January 8th, Avatar held the top spot at the box office with 25 million, and Megan opened with 30.2 million on its opening weekend.
Which probably already made back all its money right there. It could have
Absolutely.
probably stopped. And
Dude,
like, we're good. We got it.
I still don't have an interest in seeing that movie, honestly.
I will see it. I'll let you know.
I don't really care about that one. In other news of re-releases, Titanic, 25 years.
Had a bit of a controversy with the very either
stupid
strangely
poster.
photoshopped poster or an old piece of promotional art that there's a reason they didn't use it originally.
Yeah, it's just, it looks like the main, what was her name?
Kate Winslet.
Thank you.
Because she's in Avatar too.
I knew that. I forgot though what her name was. She the picture is one side of her head is her hair down, and the other side was when her hair was up. So it makes it look like she has a weird, like, half-shaved head.
Maybe this is a new version. Maybe this is Titanic, Two Sides of Rose.
That's me. That's the woman in the Photoshop picture.
And DiCaprio doesn't even look like it's DiCaprio.
Yeah, I seriously think they took a picture of half of his face, flipped half of it to Photoshop a whole face. It's very strange.
And it's also blurry. Like you have
have
motion blur.
There's like a motion blur
wrist.
on his hand. Yeah, it's really
and
strange.
This isn't an
poster.
action shot. This is a hugging shot. Also, and a weird hugging shot. Like he's hugging her from the. It doesn't. You know what? It doesn't matter. I don't care about Titanic.
I don't either. It's just you look at. Well, I mean, for one thing, it's relevant to James Cameron, but movie posters. You especially those like anniversary ones. They're normally something special because it's like, man, someone might actually want to buy this art, frame it. Because it's a movie that's really close to them.
One that thing. You'll want to, in 20 years, you want to own this kind of like bad box art Mega Man. You want to own that.
This is definitely up there. But
I feel like I just dated myself with a Mega Man reference.
Hey, it's fine. Everybody knows about that. Speaking of things that were going up against Avatar, Puss in Boots, which I did watch, The Last Wish. Its ratings, critical and user, are much higher than Avatar's. So
I have not looked at Avatar's ratings. Yeah. You'll have to fill me in when we have an review. I'm going to go and call right now too. Like, we're not going to hold back on spoilers. It has been a month.
It's been long enough that we can. Yeah,
the movie's made $1 billion. If you haven't seen it, then you either don't care or. Also, spoiler alert: it doesn't matter because nothing happens.
It has no beginning and it has no end. So trailers. We don't really have a lot of news right now, just because we did take that big break.
And most of the news has been bullshit.
Yeah, literally the only thing is that Jared Leto 100% confirmed for the now confirmed Tron 3. That's about the only thing I've seen.
I call it right now. It's going to be a Disney Plus movie. I don't
I'm
think it'll.
I'm feeling the same thing.
I don't think they'll go theatrical with it. I don't think Disney trusts Tron that much,
I don't think they do either. They barely did the first one.
and I don't think Jared Leto
Oh, second, whatever.
has the star power for them to want to do that. I mean, he's going to morbid.
I genuinely can't believe that anyone is like, you know what? After this disaster,
He's been
let's add him in.
he's been tied to this Tron sequel for
years.
Yeah, I mean, I think before Morbius. And I really like the second Tron. I don't care about the first Tron, to be honest. I mean, it was groundbreaking for the time. What they did, like, that's great. But
Yeah, that's like top tier nerd niche.
It's a little movie. When you watch it now, it's like, yeah, don't watch this. This is a bad movie. But Tron Legacy to me was like, that was a fun time at the movies.
A major part of it is the soundtrack with Daft Punk,
and it is that. I will absolutely give it that. Like, if you were to move that score, I don't know that I would like. There'd still be bits that I like, but like the movie wouldn't.
I know a ton of people who have never watched the movie, but yet they'll have like the actual finals of the score of the movie.
So that'll be the telling point here. Is doesn't have to be Daft Punk again, because also I know they're retired.
Yeah,
so
they're retired,
but they might come back to score movie. Maybe, I don't know. But
the rumor that I saw was that Bad Bunny is going to do the score.
Well, I still don't know who that is, so I don't know how
Bullet Train soundtrack.
Is he on it? I know he's in the movie.
He did the soundtrack too.
Okay, well, so re-listen. You know what? Nothing in that soundtrack stood out to me, so that's not a good sign.
Yeah, it's not a good sign at all. But yeah, that's kind of like the only thing. But
well, there's one other sneak peek.
Oh, did I miss something?
We got Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo,
the movie. I'm glad it's not called Gran Turismo, the movie.
Yeah. For one thing, strange thing to make a movie out of. I mean, it's race car game. Not much going on.
That has no story ever.
I feel like at this point you're making a racing movie and just attaching a name to it.
Like that as a game has also just been, look how realistic we can make this game. And even the PS1 era is like, wow, look at those graphics. So yeah, it is a very weird choice. But
the hook is its director.
Who interestingly, you told me this, I didn't know it, and I had been wondering, like, what is Neil Blomkamp up to? He did a terrible movie called Demonic, I think.
Yeah, that was bad AI, like
shot during quarantine.
AI VR movie. It's a ghost in the computer.
But again, give him credit, like, well, you're in quarantine, like,
yeah, but
you did something.
It sure looks like it was made in a quarantine.
Yeah. But I like a lot of his work. Yeah. Even the one movie I don't like, I still like the work. And I'm the one person who likes Chappie.
Yeah, I actually hate Chappie. Elysium is, I can give or take. District 9, I think, is universally loved.
At least, everyone's on board with like, that one's good.
Yep.
So this is interesting and a weird choice for him.
Very strange. And you got your main two characters, which is David Harbour and Orlando Bloom.
And some other race car guy, I guess. I don't know who the other person.
I didn't care past that.
The sneak peek trailer is a lot of bullshit talking like, this is unprecedented. This is a Sony partnership, PlayStation.
Very strange.
But maybe, as I watched it, I was thinking like, maybe this is the next Top Gun.
It could be.
Like, are they doing all of this? It looks like a lot of practical stuff is being done. A lot of crazy camera work. If that's the case, I mean, that's the right lesson to have learned from Top Gun was, yeah, I mean, if you do like real stunts and stuff, like that brings people in.
Going into real stunts, other trailer news is Mission Impossible has thrown away its trailer and is now showing like a 5-minute
exclusively just here's how we did this weird thing.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Top Gun, where they did like a whole deal, but the only thing with the Top Gun was they played 5 minutes of the movie, where this one is 5 minutes of doing a crazy jump.
15 times. I think it is 15 times.
Yeah, Tom Cruise driving a motorcycle off the side of a mountain a bunch of times until they get the perfect shot. But the thing is, they got the perfect shot the first time, but he's just like, I want to do it better.
I can hold on to the bike. I think his first time is I can hold on to the bike longer.
Which is also like, okay.
And again, you and I saw this when we saw Avatar. I've since watched it on YouTube again just to be like, see the whole thing. But I leaned over to you and was like, this man is going to die on film.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's in his contract that show it to people.
I think so
and
too.
I will pay a ticket price to see it.
Because, I mean.
And say what you will about this crazy man. He wants to entertain us. That's what he wants to do is he wants He may actually be insane, but he wants to be a movie star, and he is.
I think I've never actually wanted to watch him in any of the Impossible movies. I've never seen any of them actually, and
Oh, that could be fun. Don't watch number 2.
okay.
Oh, I mean, if you're going to watch them, I guess watch them all so you can see this weird progression of a franchise.
Yeah. This one actually kind of made me just that little behind the scenes. Like, I didn't know that. That's kind of neat, and I kind of want to watch some of them now.
I think technically, every one of them has had something like that.
Yeah, I don't even know what the name of this movie is either.
In the last 3 to 4, I think from Mission Impossible 3 on, they have all had a real stunt.
Just
like the first one had some crazy stunt work, but it was done on green screens and stuff. But it was still a weird stunt.
I feel like I remember seeing one. It was something like a halo jump. Was one of them?
The last movie had a halo jump.
Okay, I remember that.
That's not even its craziest stunt. But the bike jump stunt, maybe that's why they're highlighting. Is like because standard audiences probably would just be like, yeah, whatever. It's like, no, we threw this man off of a cliff,
literally threw
on a bike.
That's that I'm sold on that one. Whatever, Mission Impossible
Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Okay, I didn't even know the name of it.
I will say, I know you haven't seen these either. I want either one of these to happen. Tom Cruise and Keanu Reeves need to be in a movie together. I don't care if Tom Cruise is in John Wick as a bad guy, or if Keanu Reeves is in Mission Impossible as whatever.
Well, they cross over, same universe.
Or that. Being the two actors who are like, I'll do this for real. They're both of age, getting old, so can't do this for much longer.
Right.
But we have two actors who will throw themselves so completely into something. How can you not want to see the two of them like, okay, go. Do stuff.
Another actor that always does that kind of stuff too is
Christian Bale.
Thank you, Christian Bale.
He does a lot of weird stuff with his body.
Yeah.
But you could argue Jared Leto will do that shit too, probably.
Probably.
Okay, throw Jared Leto in the mix. Let Tom Cruise and Keanu Reeves kill Jared Leto.
That'd be cool.
That's what I want to see. John Wick, Ethan Hunt, kill Joker.
Kill the Joker. They hunt down Morbius.
Dude, is that not a pitch that you would pay money to see?
I would absolutely watch that.
I'd even go 3D premium ticket price on that.
Other trailer that we missed also, we got Ant-Man 3's trailer.
The new trailer.
We have two since the last time we recorded. We got the original, then trailer 2, which we saw at the theater, I believe. Or did that one?
No, we saw trailer 1 at the theater.
Okay.
Trailer 2 is basically trailer 1 again, but more dramatic. And I'll give them credit. Trailer 2 works better for me.
For me, I still have a very small interest in seeing this one.
Is that a play on words?
It was. Yeah, thank you. My expectations are not big, and they're not growing either.
I don't know, the buzz on this movie, wasp buzz, right?
The only giant man face.
It's Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, right?
Yeah. It looks like they've completely replaced just the name Ant-Man with Ant-Man and the Wasp permanently, which is like,
It's fine.
Cool.
Tied together.
I still don't give a shit.
She doesn't feature in the trailer very much.
No, I got an ad actually on YouTube the other day where it was just like her and Paul Rudd. Evangeline Lilly, is that her name?
Yep.
And
Lost Kate.
She it's just her and Paul Rudd standing awkwardly in a room saying, Ant-Man tickets are on sale, go buy them right now.
There's strangely a lot riding on this Ant-Man than there has ever been on an Ant-Man before. And it is weird because he's not the character, he's not the movie that
all three of his movies have been the most important movies in the entire MCU.
In a way, they have been, but financially, they weren't.
No, story-wise, not
and clearly,
financially.
They made enough money that they continue to make them because not everyone gets 3. Eternal's probably going to get 3.
No.
But because of the response to Phase 4,
I think they're like, "Oh God, we got to do better."
And now there's been reports of sightings of Paul Rudd weeks ago.
Yes.
And matching things in the trailer indicating like this is they're reshooting
already
stuff
right now before the movie comes out.
Weeks before this movie, like Marvel has it in their contracts to do reshoots.
It's like less than a month,
but they don't do them this close because what that means is the movie is not locked. It's not finished being edited.
That's shocking, honestly. Like just that you're allowing this to happen this late in the game.
And my concern is, have they taken this movie away from Peyton Reed? And is Marvel
and they're
editing
just taking it away
and changing something to where I don't know. Part of me feels like maybe that was part of the problem in the first place. Like you need to start I know you've controlled this before, but start trusting your directors at this point.
Yeah.
You give them an edict, here's the story you do, and then let them do it.
Either that or just stop having directors altogether. Just
go get the Feige bot from She-Hulk and let it do its thing.
like literally just make it a council.
More and more, honestly.
Stop hurting directors' reputations on these.
And if you hated She-Hulk or whatever you feel like it offended you or targeted you, like that's fine. But more and more, the best thing since Endgame for me has been WandaVision, whatever, and She-Hulk. And She-Hulk, I applaud for even just like, you straight up just like took the piss out of your own franchise.
I think
and
the
you
only thing
called out everything you know that you're doing.
Like, I hope that was also their way of saying, okay, we're gonna start fixing shit now. We're sorry, but also like, I just don't trust them. Thor has hurt my
that's
my appreciation for everything so much that I'm like,
this is my fear with Ant-Man.
I'm wary of anything.
It seems like this Ant-Man was meant to be more serious, almost to the point where I kind of wonder, like, did they kill Ant-Man in this movie?
Yeah, kind of. That's what I'm thinking too.
And now I'm thinking, like, is Marvel like, no, put jokes in there. We need more jokes. This is what people liked. I was like, actually, no, this is what people were getting tired of.
You want everything to be dark and dreary after Endgame. That's why WandaVision works so much.
Well, and you want to see these heroes
feeling
especially
bad.
The ones that now we spent this kind of time with in the comic books. That's what made comic book nerds nerds. You knew these characters. You lived with them, and there are kids right who are now in their 20s who started watching the Marvel movies when they were 8 or 9, and have grown up with them. So these heroes they've grown up with, you want to see them grow as well. And you need to make stuff feel like it mattered. Endgame felt like it mattered. Like, wow,
it did.
Stuff happened.
And
in WandaVision,
it's just like that. Well, for one, the mystery was actually really fun.
Actually, every bit of the Marvel shows, the best parts that have worked in all of them. The Falcon, Hawkeye, all of it have been the bits where it referenced like, this is what has happened to everybody.
We want to know more about that because that's what's interesting.
Even the Spider-Man movies, which clearly dealt with, like, Iron Man is gone.
And yeah, I mean, like,
and those have maybe balanced the best of humor and drama.
Yeah, everyone loved the new Spider-Man movie because, I mean, it kind of checked all the boxes of what people wanted from the movie, but also it ends with Spider-Man being 2 weeks away from offing himself, and everyone's like, "Yeah, this is the real Spider-Man."
To the credit again,
he's depressed, alone in the world. That's the Spider-Man I love.
Like they kind of gave you a new origin stories of Spider-Man and put him back where he's supposed to be. He's like, there, he's alone and depressed.
And now
got it.
And it's like, cool. Now this is what we wanted. So it's like, no, him making jokes about Star Wars is not what we wanted. We wanted
he's
him.
He's still gonna be witty,
but I think that adds to how the studio themselves do not understand what they're doing anymore. Where they're just like, people really like connect to the funny stuff when they're missing the theme. That's like, oh no, it's funny, but also there's a story going on. Let's make it funny.
They're missing
screaming goats.
The balance. You know, and even with Thor, if their intention with Thor was we want to make a comedy, fine, make a comedy. Also, then don't put Lady Thor in here where her central story is she's dying of cancer.
And also,
because there's tonal whiplash to that in Screaming Goats.
And with Christian Bale's character, who's
clearly in a different movie.
A completely different movie. Is like, oh,
crushing it.
This is a different character altogether. We got to go back to the Screaming Goats, though. God damn, those are funny.
Hey, we have a character called the God Butcher. Cool. We're going to see him kill gods?
No.
Nope. You'll see the aftermath of it. Maybe. A little bit. Talk about it.
Let's see big fat Zeus be funny and say accent.
And again, if you talk about narrative and building drama and climax, like the biggest issue MCU is going to have after Endgame was, how do you top Thanos? Like you just showed us what took you 11 years to build up to someone who, again, bold move, you let him win. And he wiped out half the universe. So what other threat can come up now? You're like, well, I don't know. They killed Thanos, so what the fuck are you?
Yeah, that's Colossus. He eats planets.
You're thinking of Galactus. Colossus is an X-Man.
My bad.
Thank you for making me be extra nerdy there. And when they bring Fantastic Four in, I'm sure Galactus will show up. But Kang, who they're building to now, like, okay, that can be good. That's cool stuff. The multiverse, the splitting of all that, cool stuff. Focus on the drama of all of this, and lean into the fact that, again, this is connected. That's the issue Phase 4 had, was none of this seems like it's connected to anything.
No, nothing. The biggest thing, though, like what you're talking about, like the things that we have the problems with and the things we like, it seems like it's all good in Guardians 3, which we did get the trailer for as well.
And yeah, we got that back to back with Ant-Man.
We did.
And I leaned over to you and was like, It's so weird to see one trailer not hit me and this one just immediately, like every bit of that trailer
So
for me works.
Guardians uses James Gunn music. I wouldn't be surprised if James Gunn edited the trailer himself.
If he didn't, he for sure picked the song.
Right. Where the other one uses Tiny Dancer by Elton
Tiny
John.
Dancer I don't even know. I couldn't even tell.
Well, I like Elton John, but
I like that song, but I couldn't tell it in the trailer. So
yeah, so it's like okay, Tiny Dancer. I get it. Ant-Man small.
And I do think with Guardians, even though really that's what Marvel should be banking on to lift up Phase 5, you shouldn't be putting this weight on Ant-Man. Like, just let that movie be what it's going to be.
It really, the Guardians trailer is really good. There's not a lot to say about it. It's just a good trailer.
The other thing,
it seems like it's really the ending of the Guardians.
I guarantee you with Guardians as well, Marvel probably isn't involved as far as like they're not in that editing room. It's literally like, we're sorry, James Gunn. Will you please come do this? And also, we'll leave you the fuck alone.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it was. Because this one almost feels like the ending to a lot of stuff.
Guardians, it's impossible not to watch that trailer and not know like, well, some of them are definitely going to die, or at the very least, like this is the end of.
They'll be done.
This
outside of real world stuff happening.
Right. I mean, that's the other thing too. That the real world part of like some of the actors. I mean, Batista straight up said like, I'm not doing Drax. James Gunn has a new job at DC, and even in Endgame and Infinity War, he wrote the Guardians stuff.
He did. Because they were like, who else would write them better?
Nobody really has the tone for it. So like once he's gone, like what do you
even
they're not going to get rid of
that was in Thor.
They'll keep Rocket and Groot, or at the very least Groot. But Star-Lord, maybe even like Gamora, a bunch of the other ones, like I think
they're done.
They may not die, but they'll just be like, don't worry, they're out there. You won't see them anymore, but like they're there.
Yeah, they went their own ways. And then we also had Indiana Jones.
Sure looks like a movie.
Harrison Ford.
Look, I'm not an Indiana Jones fan.
I'm not a big one either.
I do like James Mangold, who's director. He did Logan.
I think the only thing that I had an issue with the trailer was Harrison Ford being like, I don't believe in magic. And it's like,
you've encountered aliens.
My man,
the Covenant.
You saw aliens.
In fact, every one of your adventures has magic, sir. In your face.
What the are you talking about?
You survived a nuclear explosion in a fridge. You don't believe in magic?
I think it's called something like the Sundial of Destiny.
The Dial of Destiny.
Okay.
It is a dumb title. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's weird.
I love alliterations. Not working for me here.
Yeah, that seems like a spinoff. Like that'd be like a TV show.
Oh, I thought you meant because the dial spins. That was a good play on words. It looks it looks like fun. I think it's a good trailer.
Personally, if we were doing this podcast and we decided to go see it, I don't know if I would see it because I just don't like Indiana Jones.
I wouldn't go see it in theaters unless reviews came out and they're like, no, you should go see it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, be like, I'll wait 45 days. It'll be on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But in a way, it'll be kind of to see a send off of a character where it is the send off. Like he's not gonna live long enough to do another one of these.
The one thing that I thought was funny about the trailer is like they attempted to do hey, this is a nostalgic thing that's old. Let's take the theme song, make it slow. But it's really hard to do that with the Indiana Jones theme because it's so fast that it doesn't really like work tempo wise. They try to do it slow, but it's like I think they gave up at the end of it and just like, f it. We'll just keep it in high action.
The other thing that's interesting with Indiana Jones is this will be the first one ever to not be directed by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, I know he is still involved, and so is George Lucas.
I mean, to what level? Who knows? Like their names are going to be on it no matter what. I imagine George Lucas isn't involved at all. I think it's just like, well, you get paid.
I want to play Indiana Jones.
But Spielberg, I could see him being on set or being involved to some extent.
Yeah, I'm sure. At least with like, I don't know. It kind of feels like one of those things that Harrison Ford would be like, I want him on set.
Maybe I will never see the full behind the scenes stuff, but God, do I want to see the behind the scenes of like, how much money did you give Harrison Ford to do this?
Yeah.
Not that he's like totally cantankerous, but like,
He actually, at least he enjoys playing Indiana Jones.
Over Han Solo. I wonder if that played into like them getting him to come back for the last Star Wars movie. Like, will you just 15-second cameo, please?
I wonder if they'll address Shia LaBeouf at all.
I doubt it. They don't need to. I mean, the other ones were very serialized to a point of like they really did not mention what happened in the other movies. there might be a vague reference, but otherwise the women, the kids, it's always different. Yeah, we know that Shia LaBeouf was supposed to be like, what's his son?
We do have a returning character in this one, though.
They will maybe mention his marriage to the woman falling apart or whatever.
Maybe she dies.
Or she dies.
I wouldn't be surprised if she and her son die in some way.
Maybe, who knows? Maybe he's in it and they've kept it a secret.
I'd be okay with that.
But I don't believe they're like passing the torch off like they plan to.
No.
Because also don't. Like,
yeah.
We're at a point now where certain IP characters they need to be able to die.
Yeah.
Especially if it's so tied to a specific actor. Like,
yeah,
it's theirs.
Because we don't want to watch in 2 more years CGI Harrison Ford after he's dead running around.
God, it's so scary because we know that they can do it because Disney's already done it with Mark Hamill and young Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, let's stop doing that. In fact, other trailers is Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
Okay, so I am a very big Transformers nerd,
and I am the opposite.
I'm not going to defend the Michael Bay movies because they are terrible.
I guess I don't hate them, but I have no interest.
I like the first one and the third one of the Bay movies, but again, I will say like they are bad. I would never ever tell anybody to watch them. It is my childhood affinity that makes me tolerate. Like I'll tolerate some of this.
Are you Sam Witwicky 00245 on eBay?
That's really good. If those are the actual numbers, I'm impressed.
I don't think so.
There was a childhood delight however many years ago when that first one came out of
eBay.
Like, holy shit. Transformers are real. Like, I know it's special effect, but there was, if anything, they are technical achievements as well.
Yeah.
And it also did make me like, I believe that Optimus Prime's a real fucking truck running through this stuff. Like, that's cool that you did that. This does not look like they've learned their lesson of nobody cares about the people. Every fan, every kid, we just want to see the robots.
There's a very Shazam-esque shot at the end of the trailer where he like just walks out of the Transformer.
I think they've done stuff kind of like that before, but
yeah,
I'm not a Beast Wars fan, which is what this is coming from.
Well, and this is what would have been my generation's Transformers.
I mean, I watched some of the show, but I still overall was like, I just didn't like the idea of them transforming into animals. Like that doesn't make sense.
That was the first of the 3D era stuff starting.
Although plot wise, I know they explained it in the show why they're doing it.
I mean, honestly, the gorilla robot looked kind of cool.
And then eventually it turned into like, you didn't know, but this is actually a prequel. Like this happened before Optimus Prime got here.
Before everything.
So to see in this trailer that it is not just like, I thought they were just straight up redoing Transformers. Like, fuck it, just make them beasts. So to see Optimus Prime in here, I'm like, oh, shit. Cool, he's here. And they're pulling from the Bumblebee movie look, which was closer to the cartoon. I was like, oh, great, you're also ignoring the Michael Bay stuff, and we're just going to lean into this.
And then they had like a god-awful song going with
the song is terrible, so all of it still, there's moments of like, this is still going to be bad, and you didn't learn anything. But here's the thing, Michael Bay's not involved.
No, he's not.
Yeah, people are still in it, but like, so they were in Bumblebee 2, and you know what? I had a legitimately fun time with Bumblebee.
I think the biggest thing for me is watching this trailer is just like, oh my God, how does the 2007 CGI look better?
I'm hoping that it's not done.
Which is also like, I hate that that is a thing that you have to take into consideration now.
Which we'll talk about. But I would be lying if as I watched that trailer, I didn't say I could not control myself, that a smile went across my face because it just, and it was the moment like once Optimus showed up, it's like, oh, there is. And then there was some cool looking action, and you can make a good trailer. All the Michael Bay movies have good trailers. So like this,
yeah, they do.
This doesn't mean anything, but it didn't look like utter shit to me.
you know, that's a good praise for a Transformers movie. It doesn't look like utter shit.
So yeah, those were our trailers.
There's a couple more.
Oh,
one
bonus trailers.
I'll let you talk really quickly about Evil Dead Rise.
Oh yeah, there was the Evil Dead Rise trailer. That was a lot of fun. New Evil Dead movie. I don't know the name of the director. Looks much more in the vein of the last Evil Dead remake, which was done by Fede Alvarez, who later would make Don't Breathe, which was more of a straight horror movie.
And also relevant, Stephen Lang.
Yes. I'd say maybe the first big movie to take advantage of Stephen Lang after Avatar.
Sure was.
But this, I don't know if it's connected to that remake. I don't think it's connected to the original series with Bruce Campbell's Ash.
I think Bruce Campbell's in it though.
He's producing it because he's said that he's done playing Ash in live action. He's basically just like, I'm too old. Like I can't
he doesn't want to do
this stuff. But the Necronomicon makes its way into a high-rise building. And the trailer, or it's there, or it's in the basement. They find it, whatever. And I'm assuming some idiot reads something from it, thusly allowing the Deadites to return. And it seems like it's going to be
here we go.
Instead of a cabin in the woods story, they're stuck in a residential skyscraper and Deadites are taking things over.
Gremlins 2.
And the trailer gives us a couple of good looking scares. One specifically of clearly a cheese grater is going to get ground down someone's leg.
Okay.
I think the trailer I saw was a Red Band trailer.
I think that's the main one they released.
It still didn't have it didn't give you a lot of the gore or whatever, but
well, they're gonna save that.
There was good shots. It seems built around a family. I'm digging it. My if I had a concern, the trailer alleviated that. Now you've never seen any of the Evil Deads.
I've seen Army of Darkness.
The one that the studio was so afraid that they're like, you cannot call this Evil Dead.
Yes.
Even though it is straight up the third Evil Dead movie.
That's the only one that I've watched was Army of Darkness.
So that one is the most
and I
comedic.
Will admit I did not pay attention to most of it. So
well, I mean it's a very it's a whatever. It's a good movie, but it's very whatever. It's the most comedic. Evil Dead's a very weird franchise. The first one is straight up $2,000 student film. We're going to go out into the woods and make a movie. And it's trying to be a horror movie. The second one is kind of a sequel, but also kind of just redoes the first one. But
I remember them doing
with more money
remake of Evil Dead 2. I think it was like the famous shot in the trailer was like the woman in the floorboard.
Evil Dead 2 does have Henrietta, who is a woman that's in the cellar, big fat woman, and then her neck grows. And
I remember there's like something about a tongue in the trailer, and I saw that in high school, and I never watched that.
You're talking about the 2010
remake. Yeah, the remake.
Yes, that one. They lock the girl who gets originally infested in the basement.
I remember seeing.
She's trying to get out,
thinking it looked awful.
Takes a box cutter and cuts her tongue in half.
That's what it was.
It was a very good return to practical effects.
Was that a good movie?
Yeah, I mean, if you like, it is cabin in the woods horror.
That was me going through a phase of being very like, this looks awful at everything that comes out.
And it is we're going to the horror front. There's no comedy in it.
I think that's the other thing that like threw me off about it.
And it's not tied to Bruce Campbell. Like I mean, his car is there, but it's not said like this is the same cabin. Like he's not referenced.
Okay.
It has a stinger scene where Ash shows up and says groovy. But I think it was literally just for fans like, look, there he is. Are you happy?
You're happy. Here you go. The next trailer is the full trailer for Redfield finally came out. Looks good.
Not what I expected.
I don't know what I expected. So but I'm cool with that.
It looks bonkers.
I'm ready to see that one just because I know it's going to be very stupid. I'm going to be happy to go in. It is strange to see another comedic vampire thing about the minion more than the vampire.
There's a very what we do in shadows vibe.
What we do in the shadows is all about that.
But this also seems to have like a weird action tinge to it.
Yeah, this one hasn't.
That's what I didn't expect. I didn't expect the kind of John Wick-ish style action scene.
So that's why I'm like, I got more interested in it because I'm like, I already want to see it just because Nick Cage is playing Dracula.
And kudos to the trailer of not really using him very much in the trailer.
Showing at the end. And also, honestly, also welcoming him into the building. I think that's a good bit.
That was a good bit. Like, no.
That's a pretty good bit.
And he looks campy.
It's just enough camp that it's like, this works.
But I think we're also going to be able to buy him as Sinister as well. So
yep. So after that one, we also have Oppenheimer. Not a lot you can say about that trailer.
I didn't watch the trailer for it. I'll be honest, I'm not a big Christopher Nolan fan anymore. Man's got a good eye. I'm not going to take that away from him. Directs beautiful looking stuff. I'm just over his form of storytelling.
I understand that one. That's why I'm so interested in this, because it's a true story. So that's weird. It's not like
I mean, he had Dunkirk, which I don't know how much he fictionalized in there, but
specifically,
this is a biopic.
Specific person.
Yeah, this is a biopic that is going to be, and I like Cillian Murphy.
The cast in this movie is insane. There's all kinds of people in this. Like,
is Michael Caine in it?
I'm sure.
I mean, Michael Caine's got to be in every Christopher Nolan movie. I just like saying,
"Do not go gently into that dark night." So after that one, we also have Just 3 more here. Knock at the Cabins trailer came out.
I did not see this.
Yeah.
What is this?
This is the other Avatar.
Oh, M. Night Shyamalan?
M. Night Shyamalan.
He's got a new movie coming, does he?
Dave Bautista, main villain.
Okay.
2 gay fathers with their daughter living in a cabin in the woods.
Okay.
4 people break in, hold them hostage, and tell them, you have to kill someone in your family to make the world not end.
I feel like this is based on like not a folklore, but I feel like this is like an urban legend type. I feel like this is a story that is like a short story that has existed.
It's feeling like old again, where it's like already an existing thing.
And it is a good melodramatic setup. But I don't trust Shyamalan with it.
It's the trailer was very strange and like slightly off-putting because it was like it felt like it wanted to have comedic moments in the trailer, but it wouldn't commit.
After seeing Old and also Glass, I'm back on the boat of like, no. I mean, clearly he can direct a movie. I'm not going to on the man. Like, I can't do what he's doing. Actually, probably I could, but
this one is a thing that too is just like also kind of slightly troubling story wise. Is like, so you're taking 2 people that are already horribly misunderstood in the world, and you're making them have a choice to kill their daughter that they've adopted. That's really fucked up.
That is the only part of this urban legend aspect where, again, I feel like I've heard something of like this story that modernizes it, and is probably the reason the studio greenlit is like, oh, that's people. But I agree with you. It's also like, why does it have to be this? Why is it that scenario?
It's just some slightly unnecessary like pain that's going to cause people.
Unless you're like, are you going to use this to talk about? So are you going to use this theme to talk about something? And I don't feel like he is.
Well, that's the thing too, is like you could totally argue that, but then it's in that Shyamalan, so it's like, oh no, all that goes out the door because he's an idiot.
And he has been for some time.
So it's like I just don't have any faith in this movie whatsoever.
And this is called Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah, Knock at the Cabin. Then next, same vein of some of this stuff is Beau is Afraid.
I've seen the title in the poster. Wait, this Beau's Afraid is Ari Aster as well?
Yeah, it's the next, right after.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
That, it's got Joaquin Phoenix playing himself at different ages.
I think I mentioned this in what was coming up this year, because I've mentioned that I'm not an Ari Aster fan.
I think you said in our pilot episode too.
I don't have anything against Ari Aster. Hereditary just wasn't a good movie for me. Other than the performance, I didn't enjoy it. Midsummer was better, and it's all part of this A24 era of horror that we're in that I'm good with, but sometimes it's a little bit up its own ass.
I have to say, this one, for me, the trailer absolutely hooked me to the point I was like, fuck, I wish this was coming out like next week so I could go and see it. It's not until like June or something.
Would you say, for me, since I did not see the trailer, would it be a benefit like then just don't watch the trailer? Just wait.
I think it's worth watching the trailer because of how bizarre it is.
Okay.
At the end of the trailer, the movie changes mediums, which is something I've been saying needs to happen in movies more.
Okay.
Where it takes a hard cut, you're like, what am I looking at? I want more of whatever this is.
Check that out.
Kind of feeling like it might have a bit of a Pinocchio vibe to it as well, which is funny.
And are we getting that Joker sequel this year, or is that going to be next year?
I'm not sure, but I know the poster finally came out for it.
Not really looking forward to that, but
we'll see. And then lastly on here, as of today, Scream 6 trailer came out.
I didn't watch it, but I saw that it came out.
I didn't watch it either. So we have nothing to say about that one because I didn't watch it.
I know it's going to New York. So change of location, great, cool.
Ghost-faced in the big city.
I know it's the same 2 directors who did 5, who are 2 people I liked. Again, I'll recommend if you haven't seen Ready or Not, which was their other movie, you should see that. That is a great movie.
Okay.
Scream 5 was not a good movie. I think I'm in the minority on that one, but like didn't care for it. Maybe because I expected better from them.
Yeah.
And it's just every cliche of a slasher movie is present. And that's even worse when you're dealing in a slasher movie that is meta aware.
It's weird. I've seen Scream 1, 2, and 3 But the only Scream I remember is Scary Movie's version.
So when you watch them, like, wait a minute,
It always messes with me. It's like I don't. There's like just certain scenes that like I'm like, oh yeah, that happened in the first movie. It's like, nah, it's a scary movie.
I wonder with this resurgence that Scream is getting, if a spoof movie might come back. We haven't had a theatrical spoof movie.
Please don't.
I don't think we've had that in 15 years.
I want to say the last one was superhero movie with Drake Bell.
That actually went to that did go to theaters.
That might be the last one.
Hey, look, there's a chance this might be good. It might be a better movie, and I think it's largely like there's no legacy cast anymore.
No,
other than Hayden Panettiere from Scream 4 is going to be in it, but like Nev Campbell, she's not there.
Yeah, but now this is Jenna Ortega's time to rise, so she's returning in this one.
Well, she may become the main character now. She is technically the little sister of the main character.
I think she's the main character now.
But the year that she's been having, I'm sure there's like kill the big sister and let her take over.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if that's the opening of the movie.
That would be in Scream fashion of like to trick us. Again, best thing that Scream ever did was its opening sequence with Drew Barrymore. It's like, we know you think that she's in this movie and we're just going to kill her.
Yep.
It was great. They never topped that, in my opinion.
I feel like that's what they're going to go for in this one. But yeah, that's all the trailer news that I thought was worth talking about, at least.
Did you have a favorite trailer?
I honestly, the Beau is Afraid.
Well, of the ones I've seen, Guardians. Guardians got me to more like I've watched it more than a couple of times, and it has managed to slightly tear me up a little bit in the trailer. I'm like, I don't know what
it does have a bit of a feeling of dread with that one.
I don't want Rocket to die. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, he's gonna be the first one too.
But yeah, let us know like what trailers did you see? Did you like? What are you? Did one of them get you more excited? Did one of them bum you out?
Yeah, it's I always enjoy talking about trailers because they're always entertaining to me.
And we did so for quite some time.
Yeah, we had a lot to catch up on, but also we don't really have a lot to talk about for Transformers. I'm ready to talk about Transformers.
I can talk about Transformers all the live long day.
But Avatar, not a lot to talk about in my opinion.
So 2007's Michael Bay's Transformers from Steven Spielberg. All right.
There was only one food tie-in, and I saw it on the shelf, and I wanted to wait until this moment. This will be a thing I'll throw up on Twitter because McDonald's didn't come out with Avatar stuff this time around. In fact, they have Mario stuff.
Tell me that they have like a filet of fish with blue tartar sauce.
You know, that's what I was like. Are they going to do like a Captain D's thing? But I'm like, that might actually go against the message of the movie. But food companies can't help themselves.
Is it a filet of fish?
No, it's cereal. And it's just one of the most strange things I've ever seen because it's like, it's just what? But it's Frosted Flakes called Pandora Flakes.
Wow, and it's even like scratched out over the frosted.
This doesn't make any sense.
It's literally like they're just like, we don't have time to do anything clever, so just Pandora. Throw the Avatar A up there, which I guess now is the logo of Avatar.
Good call. It's a good logo.
Is it just Frosted Flakes with literally like blue berries in it?
It says blueberry flavored blue moons.
Wait, is Pandora a moon?
Yes, it is. That is another thing I was going to bring up, but Pandora is a moon.
I think the movie has shown, I guess I thought that, you know what? I don't know which one I thought they were going to.
I don't know either.
And now more questioning like, why is all this life on the moon? What's going on the planet?
I think it might be a reference to Europa.
All right. You know, for all the we'll get into it when we talk about Pandora.
There's one more picture. I hate that I have to talk about pictures on a podcast, but this one is the funniest thing ever.
Visual jokes in a largely audio
yeah. I'll put this on there too. But this was the cover photo that Kellogg's was using. This is the stupidest key art I've ever seen for a movie.
It's somehow equally creepy and cheesy.
It is. So what it is Jake.
Like the smile that Neytiri is giving.
That's the one that's like the worst.
Haunting.
So it's Jake and Neytiri with their youngest child standing there like a family photo. But
it's like
Jake
Sears at Pandora.
Yes, Jake looks like he was just photoshopped
Doesn't want to be there.
Neytiri is smiling and looking at the camera while the little girl she has like a Bart Simpson kind of like pose going on. But that was the key art that Kellogg's was using.
It's probably handled by the same company that did the Titanic poster.
I would not doubt it, but I just thought that was very fucking funny. Anyway, let's start talking about Avatar a little bit.
So, what was the story?
Did you watch the first movie?
I did.
That was the story.
It is. This is really, it's very weird considering that presumably he started writing this 13 years ago, right after the first one. And
So I looked a little bit into that. They didn't start even thinking of a sequel until almost 2 years after the first movie came out.
And also, I did some reading right now too, where they did write all 5 of them or 4, whatever, at once, split up between 4 different writers, but they mapped it all out.
They did.
Something Star Wars should have done.
Yeah. Apparently, James Cameron, the 4th movie, was the one that he wrote first because he was like, "This is the great one. This is the one.
Hey,
I have to make this one first, then do the others."
They should all be great. Just saying, maybe.
Yeah. So I feel like this is like his I mean, he famously had a dream of the Terminator, and that's how he came up with it.
Magnum opus.
I feel like it's the same deal with this one.
And again, I still give, and I'm going to say right now, look, I like the movie. I liked this movie.
I don't hate the movie.
I like it more than the first one. I will be willing to rewatch this one. You have seen it a second time.
I have seen it a second time.
You enjoyed it more after the second time.
I did like it more the second time.
Because walking out, he did not like it.
I was actually kind of like, I wasn't angry or disappointed. I was just like, what?
Like I said, I like this. And I will say, if you haven't seen it before we start talking spoiler stuff, go see it. This is a movie to see in theaters. If anything else, it is that.
More than a movie, it's a spectacle.
Oh, thank God. I thought you were going to say it's a cultural phenomenon. It's like, don't give it that praise.
No.
I mean, it may be, but
to quote Nope, this is more of a spectacle.
And it does have more of that. And as we dove into the story, there were things I was disappointed in. But yeah, overall, basically what this is quick recap of here's what's happened the last 13 years. And then we just start over again.
And it's
humans come, they fuck up the environment.
But this time, the humans aren't already on the planet. So they're coming back.
Well, first they're not around the planet. And then essentially, this isn't spoilery, but like Quaritch, our villain from the last movie, turns out they uploaded his brain and now they gave him his own avatar, which seems haphazard, but Stephen Lang professes that, like, no, that was always the plan. James Cameron told him that while they're filming the first one.
I doubt it.
I do too. But whatever. You weren't going to come up with a better villain anyway. He attacks Jake, or finds his kids, actually.
Yeah,
incidentally.
Yeah.
Incidentally finds the kids. And then a little fight breaks out, and then Jake immediately assumes, well, you know what? That was clearly Quaritch. And he's going to come for us, so we have to leave. This is the crux of the movie. And immediately my first problem being like, why do you have to leave? Why aren't you terrified that Quaritch is back?
This is the big thing that
never
bothered me
addressed.
too.
They never address how he's alive.
Like, also, like, why did you decide to run away? This is the big problem. Is the movie is 3 hours and 20 minutes long, and it explains almost to the point that it's like wanting to over-explain certain things and then not explaining enough for other things.
Hey, do you remember unobtainium?
That is just apparently it's not an issue anymore. Don't worry about it. I feel like the movie lacks context for most everything that it needs. Whereas the first one, the context that you were missing, you could make through context clues.
I mean, the first one was a classic tale, is the Pocahontas story, and all these in Fern Gully.
Very, very simple story.
And then really an excuse to show us a whole new world. So Aladdin.
So you open up with this movie of Jake talking to once again narrating, which is, I really was hoping to God they didn't do this.
But it does drop off almost immediately after he catches
Thank Christ.
And I don't believe it ever comes back until the end.
I don't think it does either. So on the rewatch, something that I missed the first time actually was like, thank Christ that they actually said that.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, the Hallelujah Mountains. My issue with the movie the first time I watched it is why are they speaking English like to the other tribe? We were talking about that before. It's just like, oh, maybe the audience are supposed to be like, oh, they're not speaking English, but it's easier to listen to. And it bothered me a bit because sometimes they would throw in words that were Navi words that maybe doesn't have an English counterpart, but sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Either way, at the beginning of the movie, Jake does say, it took me a long time to get a hold of the language. But then at some point, it started sounding like English to me, and they start speaking English with the kids first. So it seems like the kids are talking more. But I was like, oh no, that's them saying, okay, they're speaking Navi, but now you're going to hear it in English, which helped a lot.
But if that's the case, Nemo. By the way, you're listening to Shallow Cinema on Blackjack Bauer. This is Nemo.
We figured that out.
If that's the case, what the fuck is Spider speaking? Spider being the human boy who's left behind, being the child Quaritch had that was never mentioned.
He is speaking Navi.
But he immediately switches to, does that mean Quaritch's avatar is speaking Navi?
Yes and no. He tries his best. Remember, there's a scene where he makes fun of him, like, you pronounce that so wrong.
But again, Spider and Quaritch are able to communicate perfectly fine.
So I think Quaritch speaks English normally, which that is the other thing I'll defend it on is when they're speaking Navi, it goes back to subtitles when it's them on screen together. But the thing is like it doesn't do it that well because the editing in the movie is a mess. I feel like it's like you lost your editor halfway through and got a new guy.
My second biggest overall complaint of this movie. If you split it into 3 acts, which I don't know, I'm sure if I rewatch it, it's probably 5 acts, but
yeah, I'd say 5 or 6 with some side stories added in.
By the point that our family leave the Hallelujah Mountains, we go off to the Water Tribe people, which is also like doesn't make sense. Like, so you're gonna leave to protect your family, but like you're just gonna put these strangers in danger because like what makes you think he's not gonna come looking for you here?
Right.
But from the moment we get there, it turns into, for me, a weird editing mix of montages that don't have proper ins and outs. And it's a string of montages, sometimes seemingly overlapping one another.
Yeah. It's very strange editing scenes.
And became hard for me to even track, like, who is our main character? Very easily and arguably in the first one, Jake is our main character. He's our window in. This one, we have a whole family, and you can have an ensemble cast, but nobody stands out generally. Like, we take chunks of time where we follow the middle, or I guess the youngest boy.
Yes.
And his friendship with a giant whale, which will become important later. We also have Keely, which is Sigourney Weaver's avatar baby,
which
who is clearly, by the way,
it's Kiri.
Kiri, sorry, but who's clearly Kiri's clearly going to be our actual main character.
The actual main character.
Jake really takes a backseat overall.
And if Jake takes a backseat,
Neytiri takes
leaves the movie.
Huge fucking backseat to basically like, I don't know, as Zoe Saldana was here.
So the two sons' names are Netaim and Loak. Loak is the one we follow the most, I believe.
And even their relationship between the two brothers is very, in Avatar fashion, very cliche, very stock.
Yes.
One of them is kind of the favorite son, the warrior. The other one's young and feels like he's not living up to it and whatever.
And we have Netaim, who is kind of like almost like main character syndrome going on, but also he takes a back seat of the movie. So he's just like, anytime he's there, he does everything right. Where his brother,
except for letting his brother get them pulled into battles.
Yes. Like he
so that Jake can then scold them and talk down to them,
yes.
Which is Jake's primary function in this movie,
is being a hard ass.
And that's
father.
the other issue I have is the theme. A big theme of this movie is family.
Oh, and Took is the youngest daughter.
But I never, in the entire time of watching this movie, I never fully bought them as a loving family. Specifically, Jake and Neytiri is like, I don't feel like you two do love each other.
So
I bought more of your relationship in the first one.
The biggest thing that we see of them being like, oh, you guys are still together is we have date night at the beginning of the movie.
That's it.
And then one more scene when they're looking at the whales, they're with each other and they're smiling and happy. And that's it.
No dialogue.
No. And
any dialogue between them is usually some sort of argument. And basically, Jake literally almost talking down to her and saying,
there's one part that actually surprised me because I mean, for the most part, James Cameron has always written extremely powerful female characters. But there was one scene that felt so out of place that was like, it felt like it was going to have consequences, but it doesn't. Where he apologizes for her. He like is like makes her stop talking and pushes her back and is like, I apologize for my wife. It's like that's a really fucking weird thing that just happened.
so that was I've only seen it once, but that stood out to me. That is probably my biggest overall complaint of the film is it's very sloppy in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, the middle of the movie is about the part that
It turns into
the second
almost,
time through was a little bit harder to watch.
it's almost a nature documentary,
Yeah.
but then
I
also
guess do that.
overlaid with largely very cliche fish. I'm not making a pun. Out of water scenario of this family adapting to this new tribe.
Which
The
really
new-
they get in that new tribe pretty quickly and easily.
And the new
all things
tribe,
considered.
the king and queen or whatever they're supposed to be called in Navi land, they're not given very much characterization either.
No, I know the only standout is the queen is Kate Winslet.
And the king is Cliff Curtis, who if you look him up and you see him, you'll know who he is.
And, then
and it's always Jake apologizing, like, sorry that my family did this.
yeah.
And him just going like, okay, well, keep him out of it.
It makes it seem like the king is a big hard ass, but he kind of just seems like a big softy.
And at one point in this kind of montage cliche thing we go through, we cut back to Avatar Quaritch with Spider.
Which addressing Spider is possibly the worst character in the movie, yet the most needed character.
Strangely, the one that nobody seems to really care about.
Yes.
Because Jake's family, he's the reason that they leave because he's like, well, they got Spider and he knows where we are. Like, they'll get it out of him. But they don't ever like talk about rescuing Spider, anything like that. And when Spider shows back up at the end, they're just like, great, hey, you're here. Then if he disappears for a while, they're like, if he died in the boat, he died in the boat.
So Spider is Quaritch's son, which is also like, what?
That's another thing that does feel added in of like, I don't believe that this was here before.
So this is what my point of context being so important is when they do the reveal that Quaritch is his father, it's while they're talking about Kiri's mom being Sigourney Weaver, which we see her dead boobs at the beginning of the movie. But so that Avatar body is still alive and was pregnant
from the Earth tree or whatever
the movie does not want you to know. It's the mystery that it wants you to figure out.
It's clear that the tree impregnated her.
That's what everyone thinks. But the thing is that having that same thing, it instantly makes you want to be like, okay, but who was Spider's mom? Like, because it's like, you put in this thing, it's just like,
because the whole reason of him being there and still being there is that he was too young for them to transport back.
That you can't put him,
which means he was born on Pandora.
So
the woman was there.
So I was like, you know what? Is this something I missed in the movie? Is this just like anything? But no. It turns out in November, right before Avatar came out, a 3-book collection came out called Avatar: The High Ground. And it is a comic book series, which the first movie had some comics. I believe it had a prequel, like a immediately afterwards, like aftermath story, and then a middle story that told the entire like story of what happened in Avatar through the Cuck's vision.
Okay.
And
is that the title? Cuck's vision?
Yeah, Tetsui. And so this one,
Cuck Quest,
was three things called The High Ground. And it covers what happened after everything in the original Avatar leading up just immediately to this. And turns out that James Cameron wrote this. It was the original script for Avatar 2. He decided that it was too much to put into the movie. So they wanted to release it as comic books. So everything that happens in the comics explains what the movie is missing, which I feel hurts the movie altogether. And the big thing is Spider and his origin, because it talks about his mom. She was on the planet already. Her and Quaritch were secret lovers. She gives birth to Spider, making him the first human born on Pandora before Jake ever arrives there. And she dies in the battle for Home Tree.
Is she a soldier?
She's a soldier.
Is it Michelle Rodriguez?
I thought like that too. And I want to look it up right now what Michelle Rodriguez's character was named.
Oh, I was going to call her Rain, but that's her name from Resident Evil.
Is Trudy Chacon. And Spider's mother has Sakaro. So it's like, I thought maybe Michelle Rodriguez could be the mom because it's like, that would be stupid, but at least it would add some context to some stuff. But no.
And with everything else in this movie and the cliches and coincidences, it would just like play into it.
Yeah. So that's where he came from. So he was already a baby on the planet when his mom died and Quaritch died, effectively making him an orphan.
Which is why he, for some reason, is also adopted by Jake and Neytiri.
So,
even though Neytiri sees him as
when they took over the place that was the humans ran, which apparently is called Hell's Gate. I never caught that in the movie. Jake finds out about Spider and feels so guilty that he feels like he needs to take care of Spider.
Because he's a white blue savior.
Yes, because him and his wife are the ones that basically caused this kid's parents to die. So Jake feels guilty. Neytiri hates him. She's like, I don't want this kid around my kids.
Which is mentioned in the movie. In Jake's
where
little monologue.
The beginning is so weird because the comic the 3-part comic, I skimmed through them. I didn't read them. But I read, it's mostly the important stuff is from the first one. But everything that you see in the first act of this movie until them literally flying away is spread throughout these comics. So you see Kiri as an actual baby. Like, she's the first Na'vi to ever tame one of her Ekrons without riding it or fighting it.
Because she's the planet itself.
Yeah, she's like, will you be my friend? And it says yes.
Yeah, I was like, I know I'm not trying to jump around, but like when he reveals what's going on with Kiri, because again, we get scenes with her in this movie too, where
the
stuff
earth
is very heavily hinted
around
at
her and stuff.
And it's kind of clear in this movie, it's like, why aren't we just following her? Like, this is clearly who is important.
So the comic skips all of that stuff, goes straight to her being like magically connected to everything around her, and then the movie explains her origins instead. So obviously she's more important than Spider. But yet Spider is the core.
She is the only one who seems to really like Spider. But
and that's the big thing too is
like, I think she actually may be in love with him. That's the vibe I got in the movie.
Like the way they act together and stuff is what made Neytiri okay with them being around each other eventually. But then that comic book goes further into detail that when they're on their date night and they see a giant star in the sky, he's like, well, they're coming back. I knew they would. He goes to his tribe and he's like, hey guys, they're coming back. We gotta get ready. We gotta fight them. So it's like, that's what this movie is like. Jake would want to fight them. He wouldn't want to run away.
So 2 things I want to say. One, in the montage I was going to get at, we cut back to Spider and Quaritch. And I kind of thought like, oh, is this what the movie is going to be? You're going to give me 2 parallel stories of like Jake and his family and their trials and tribulations in this new land and adapting. And Quaritch and Spider's story of kind of humanizing Quaritch and like he's still coming after Jake, but like he's getting a different perspective and, you know, 2 warrior fathers.
Yeah.
And kind of looking at their children and like, you know, there's tons of stuff you could do with that. I thought like, cool, that's neat. We're going to cut back every 20 minutes and like catch up with the other one.
Yeah, we'll catch up.
That whole thing was like just so Quaritch could get his, I'm not going to remember their fucking names, his dragon flying thing, Ekron.
There you go.
I remember it for now. And that's it. We don't cut back to them again until Quaritch has almost figured out where they are.
Yes.
But then going back to the beginning, we're talking about the star people coming back. This is 5 minutes in the movie.
So
lands immediately also like clearly Cameron wants to show us like they don't even care about the environment for landing. Just like, fuck it all.
So that makes you think that when they see that star, it's like, oh, they're landing, right? That's what it makes the movie makes you think.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a year when they see the star, according to the comic, before they make it to the planet.
Well, look, this movie's only
Check.
3 hours and 20 minutes, Nemo. We don't have time to wait for that.
I'm going to show you a picture. This is the cover of the second comic. Does this cover make you want to see whatever the fuck this is in a movie more than what you saw?
Yeah, that is. What is that?
So, on this cover, Jake is wearing a space armor outfit, and there are a bunch of Na'vi with bows and arrows in space shooting astronauts. So, what was going on?
Looking cover also.
Yeah, the art's not the greatest thing in the world. So, what happened in this comic was he knows they're coming. He tells his people, "Hey, we got to fight them." His people are like, you know what? Last time that didn't work out too well. We lost our tree. And also, we're about to go move into a new tree. So, I don't want to do that. Except for one of the other members of the tribe. And he's like, I agree with you. Let's start training. So they take the old gear that the people left behind and use it to train in space. So they have Na'vi.
They get to space.
It's the ships they left behind and all that stuff still have all the stuff necessary. They still have pilots and stuff. So they orbit the planet.
Titanium fuel?
Yes. That's still left over. They didn't make more. So they're orbiting the planet, training how to fight in space, and then when the people finally get close enough, they make first contact with Edie Falco's, General Ardmore, which we never got the name of her in the movie.
Said in the movie.
I don't think so. So we get her first contact,
but also you might as well just call her Corge too, because she's literally just doing that.
So they're talking to each other over the comms, and he's like, "Hey, you should just turn around and go back because we're not going to allow you to take our planet." And she's like, "Actually, go fuck yourself. I'm going to take it over. Also, all the humans that are left, we won't charge you with anything. We'll welcome you back into our ranks if you abandon the Na'vi. But if you don't, we'll kill every single one of you."
Sounds like Corge.
And but she's like, "It doesn't matter if some of you want to come or not. If it's not all of you, you all die." So that
doesn't make any sense.
So that's the stake. It's like she does not want a single person alive that would rebel against them. So that's her plan. So they eventually do have a space fight. I think they end up destroying one of the ships. There's 10 that were on their way. They've only ever had like one. So this is what makes it so much more, like, I guess, scary for them. So they get through. They kind of win, kind of lose. Basically, they get back on the planet. There's more fighting and stuff. And then that's when you see the destruction and stuff happening.
Oh, yeah. The movie just... Yeah, the movie is cut absolutely like that's happening immediately on date night.
No, this is multiple like months and years happening.
We do jump time, and it's clear we jump time in the movie.
Yes,
to where we're doing insurgency strikes, and the only reason we know it's jump time because one, Avatar Corch gets introduced, and Edie Falco has to explain to him.
Yes,
here's what's been going on.
So
we've also been here now so long that we have built, humans have built
a city,
like a little city space or whatever. So it's like, okay, wow, that was quick.
Jake immediately was like, "Hey, this is a losing battle. We may have won this one, but we're not going to win the war. All the humans, you guys did nothing wrong. We'll leave you here so you can join back in with the humans, whatever. And all the people that want to stay with us, we're going to move into the mountains." So that's why they even got to the Hallelujah Mountains to begin with.
Again, I felt like the movie almost made it seem like that's just where they
went. But no, they found another tree. They can move in there. So that's why they all go there, and that's why Jake is leading those raid parties that we see at the beginning, and also Admore. That's what makes her have a grudge against Jake. So she actually wants him dead at all costs, which adds more context to the movie of why they would care that he's still alive when he's gone.
I'm assuming then in the comics it's explained that Admore did she request the Corch avatar?
Yes, it starts being made because of her.
So also, okay, that does make more sense because hey, you know what's a great idea? Let's download the brain of the guy who absolutely failed last time.
And his team that failed.
Let's send him back there because they'll get it this time, I bet.
So that's the context of what this original sequel script was. Which there's more that I could talk about. I'm going to say this, but that's the big main takeaways.
Because I think you and I differ on this.
I hate that this is not in the movie.
This is my number one complaint with this movie was 15 minutes into it, I was sitting there thinking, I think I like this movie. Am I going to I mean, I went in with an open mind, but I also kind of expected to not
Mine,
like it.
I think mine was the opposite.
And
Yeah.
I was liking it because like, oh, this is starting off like we're just going right into like guerrilla warfare, and hey, you're
Which
still going to tell an
I'm fine with
environmental
that.
story and invading force, indigenous people story, but it's like unlike the last movie, like we're just getting right into like we're gonna fight.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a war. I'm like, this is great. I'm into it.
So
And then 20 minutes later, Jake's a pussy. He's like, we got to go.
yeah,
And then we don't have action for a very long time. But also, again, my issue plot wise is him leaving makes no sense,
it still doesn't make a difference really.
and him being gone, and like Corch still chasing him. Also, to me now it makes a little bit more sense. But like for me with the humans, it was like, why are you still chasing him?
It seems
He
like
clearly has stopped doing the insurgency runs. I assume none of the other Navi are doing them.
Yeah.
So you got what you wanted, which was that's done.
Yeah. So this
So none of this should be happening at all.
this comic book led the context that the Navi are just done fighting, and they're like, whatever, it's in Awa's hands. We'll be peaceful with the humans. So that's why I guess they don't kill the other Navi once they find out Jake's not there.
Well, I mean, they did set up also they can't get in the Hallelujah.
Yeah, they
It's
have
like,
a hard time getting there because
Pandora does on its
Yeah.
own fight back after I think it was 10 minutes. Like they have a
yeah,
10-minute
it's like
window
they
in
had a
there.
10-minute window.
Which is the other reason I was like, Jake, why are you leaving? Like they really can't do like they have 10 minutes at best,
So
dude.
with the context of this comic, it shows that Jake has already tried fighting, and it's still not working. But because now
And another
he
myth,
like finds out that it's like, oh, it's all about us. He's like, well, I gotta go because I got a family now. I gotta protect these guys. I gotta go.
and maybe there's more of it in the comic. I mean, the family thing is there, but I feel like the missed opportunity, or I didn't feel like this was highlighted. It was also like that maybe he doesn't want his sons
It wasn't highlighted.
to have to fight. That he's like, I went through this, and like I don't want you to do it. Like, yeah, we should defend ourselves, but like I don't want you in war. I don't want either one of you to have to live a life of war. And that would have made him leaving
make
more sense of like show an actual struggle within himself of like we need to fight back, but also like I don't want this for my family.
And having the comic show that he was already ready to fight, like he was training people to get ready to fight the people that were coming, makes so much more sense. Where this one is just like it feels like he just abandons them. So you miss
because we don't ever see other Navi again. Like
which
we
is already
hang
the
out
problem
with the water Navi.
Yeah, like that was already the big problem with the first movie is not enough character development where it mattered. So it's like now this one is just like you paywalled your character development between 3 books that most people won't read.
And also, as I've stated, when you and I are talking about like Jurassic World and shit, it's great if there's some outside medium that fills in like, here's why this happened, here's what this person is like. It's not in the movie. It doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
The movie needs to be able to tell its story well enough. It's great if you have background stuff, but like if the movie can't tell its story, then you're missing something.
If you want to have tie-in media, it should just build the world. It shouldn't have plot
be
points that you need to know.
It shouldn't be Ubisoft style DLC that's been cut out of the story. That like, do you want to know how this works? Pay us $10 more.
It's a major problem, and I think that's why the other 3 comics, which I knew existed and I never read, they're not written by James Cameron. They're just some tie-ins. It's like, hey, there's some extra stuff. That maybe it took some of the deleted scenes from the first movie and made it into a story.
At this level, James Cameron, like, film another 30 fucking minutes and just make a 4-hour movie and put it in there.
The comics are each 82 pages long.
Jesus
Christ. Feel like you...
But I mean, you can condense that.
I mean, they're comics, so most of it's pictures.
And also, there's a big chunk in the middle of this movie. I could say, like, you could just cut that out.
If you took that and made that to the first 30 minutes, you would have a battle within the first 10. That's enough action at the beginning of a movie to be like, okay, I'm in. That should have been in there, and it should have explained the timeline, because you did explain the timeline.
I think, honestly, in a running time conversation, 3 hours and 20-something minutes, at that point, like, if you go another 40 minutes, I don't think anyone dropping off is like, nope, that's just too long now.
I mean, plenty of people are like, I kind of wanted to watch some more. I'm not going to lie.
And, you know, again, not going to always compare everything this, but like, and it's a different situation. Like, Zack Snyder proved, like, you can do a 4-hour movie, I guess. Yeah. Some people will sit there and watch it.
I really do think that was a.
Also, James Cameron was already cocky enough that he knew that people were going to come see it numerous times. He's like, you can take a bathroom break whenever. Like, you'll see the stuff you missed next time.
It's like, that's why this is so frustrating to me in particular, is because it's like, there's so many context things that makes other things in the movie make sense, like how Jake feels guilty about Spider being alive at all. But that's also why Neytiri doesn't like him, but it's also why he's slightly scared of him. But it also makes it to where Then why wouldn't you want to go save him?
And it's frustrating for me in regards of, again, because I've liked this movie, but it makes so many sloppy mistakes. And it's weird because like James Cameron is a very established, competent director. And I've had a argument with someone else where I'm like, I don't think he's a good storyteller. It's like, well, clearly he is this, and this. Yeah, like Terminator 2, I think is maybe one of the best pieces of fiction. It is the best action sequel that has ever been made, in my honest opinion.
Yes.
So I know the man's got it. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's going on with the Avatar movies, and that it doesn't seem to matter. It's like,
all I can
just get swept up in the world of Pandora. And I'll say this, like, I still am not swept up into the world of Pandora.
This one, for me, actually made me lose some of the wonder that I had of the first one, because it takes you to a setting that is very small scale and boring. So when Quaritch returns and finds his skeleton, that's, you know what? I like that scene where he finds himself.
I could have legitimately watched just a movie of like, this one is just about Quaritch.
Just him dealing with himself.
Dealing with being an Avatar, dealing with what happened, the hunt for Jake. There's so many different avenues they could have taken with this, and especially if you're already bold enough that you know, like, I'm doing 4 of these. Or at the very least, we know he had 2 and 3 were done.
And
he had stated
has been filmed too.
I guess it's set up in a way of like, I could end it with 3 if this doesn't, like, I literally just saw a quote where even he says, like, the question is, who gives a shit about this? Like he also didn't know, like, I don't know if anyone gives a shit about this anymore. But no matter what, you still film 2 and 3.
Yes.
So tons of directions you could take all of this storytelling.
And that's what's
take it in
frustrating with
this way where this movie is, and I think when all of this series is wrapped up, this one will be inconsequential.
I'm feeling the same
because the end of the movie, maybe even spoiling stuff left and right. First of all, it ends with the same eye-opening scene, which
it does.
I knew
it's going to be all of them, and I think the 5th one's going to end with Jake closing his eyes.
Probably. And I mean, I get it. It is a storytelling device you can use, but as soon as the camera started showing his face,
and it started playing the same music score.
You probably even heard me laugh because I'm like, don't do it.
I did too, because I was like, are you kidding me?
But he even says, like, I see now. Running won't save my family. I have to fight. It's like, motherfucker, that's what this whole movie is about, was you learning this lesson? We spent 3 hours.
It's just a great example of how Jake is such a selfish character.
So basically, it's, hey, you know where you were at minute 15 of this movie?
You're back
now,
there.
3 hours later, we're back there. Now your character's on board. He's ready to go for Avatar 3. Like, the fuck?
And I genuinely hate the ending. And I feel like them saying the way of water has no beginning and has no ending is so strangely like poetic, because the movie opens and ends like the original. It really does not have a beginning or ending, because it's not its original opening.
It's interesting because someone asked me too, like, you know, is this good? And I was like, yes, it is. I mean, it's got problems, but like, I like it. Like, well, do I need to see the first one? And I was like, well, I hate the first one. And part of me would say, no, you don't, because also this is literally retreading the same beats.
I think I had more fun in the first one.
But you do kind of, because there's a lot of stuff in this that you won't, it's not even just like minor context stuff, like you won't understand what the fucking Avatar is if you don't see the first movie.
It did throw me off that they referred to them as avatars.
I mean, they know what they are. They're 5 fingered, so like they do stand out.
So, okay, that's another thing I wanted to bring up, is we talked about that in the last one.
They didn't really delve into like the race thing either. Like clearly when they get to the water place, they're like fucking freaks.
Yeah. Which I was like, I'm so happy that I called that, or that we called out in our overview of the first movie. We called them freaks, and we thought it'd be really funny if someone called them a freak in this. And they did multiple times, and I loved that.
But then I feel like after the initial introduction of it, it comes back like a little bit with the kids, and then it's just kind of like,
so
wouldn't this be a big thing for all of the Na'vi of this planet of like, hey, now there are some who are clearly engineered, not like you're not real.
This is the thing that's interesting and really
is that not an interesting thing to delve into too? Is like, are you real? Are you an Na'vi?
And they kind of touched on it, but it was also just like the daughter of the chieftain of the water tribe was like, I love.
Does Natiri, is she 4-fingered?
Yes. That was the big thing that we talked about. Is like, you see clearly in her in the first movie like that. So they actually did something impressive with the kids. Jake's oldest son is 4-fingered and doesn't have eyebrows, I believe. He takes after his mom more. So this middle son is the one that has 5 fingers.
I didn't notice that.
Yes, this is on my second time. The
It should also
daughter,
be said that Neytiri has no relation to the Sully family.
yeah,
And now talking to you, now a question like, why did they get that kid as well? Like,
yes,
why is every just loose kid like, here you go, you're the main character, so
and Kiri,
Neytiri, not Neytiri, damn it.
Kiri, she has 5 fingers and eyebrows, but then the youngest one, Took, she has 4 fingers, no eyebrows. So it's like it's nice to see they take after their parents. You can see multiple pieces of them in there, which is like
That's the other
I
part
like
that's,
that.
that's weird. Again, in the first one too, that there was, and I think I praised it in our show, that the depth of the world building that you clearly,
Yes,
and again, I feel like that's the point of that first movie is like you clearly love this fake world you created, and you just want an excuse
to
to
show it
show
off.
everything. Great, dude, have at it. And I saw stuff in this. Where I'm like, neat. Like, I'm not even paying super close attention off it, but like, it's cool the depth that you're going to. But then there's so many plotting things. Like, I don't feel like you're paying attention to the plot at all. You mentioned the unobtainium thing. I know I'm complaining a lot about this movie, even though I said I liked it. That's why I stressed up front. I liked it, but there's a lot wrong with it.
There's a lot wrong.
I think
with
that
it.
we are at
that
2
hurts.
hours and 30 minutes where we're revealed, hey, these giant whales, turns out their brain matter makes humans just stop aging. And now that's what we're after.
That is,
And I think I laughed again because I was like, what the dude? Like, we are so deep into this movie, and this has never been mentioned. And also, like, so we've now just switched from unobtainium
it's also
to
really strange that like Quaritch
whale.
gives
Quaritch doesn't seem to give a shit about that.
but he's like standing there like he's like all like kind of like bewildered, like, oh, take a look at this.
It's an excuse because it needs to explain it to us at the odds. But I'm kind of like, you don't like. I mean, I guess I would argue like, why are they hunting whales? Why do we have whale hunters on this planet? Arguably, again, however long the humans have been back here, I'm going to be conservative. I'll give them 5 years. I don't think it was that long, but let's say it's 5 years.
I think that's the other thing that hurts this
Everything
movie
else
too,
they're
like that.
doing on this planet, which is, and they say it this time, Earth is fucked. And we're coming here because
we got
fucked up Earth.
We're going to live here now.
So one of the first things you needed to set up was like, hey, go be a whaler.
Yeah.
And he's done it so long that he also knows, like, no, we don't go around these islands. We don't do this during this time.
Yeah. So
because they do seemingly respect aspects of the Na'vi. But then the question is like, when and how did you discover that whale's brain goo stops us from aging?
I think the biggest thing is how. Like, how do you figure that out?
But the sheer fact that like unobtainium is not mentioned one time.
That was genuinely surprising to me.
Where that was the crux of the first movie.
That is the main MacGuffin.
And now, near the end of this movie, you just throw in there like, here's a new one that kind of doesn't even play a role in the film, but no, like, fuck it.
It almost feels like it's a thing.
I needed to justify why this big ship is here.
Yeah. And along with like that entire thing, having the Australian bad guy, that was like such an over-the-top villain that I actually loved him.
And at first he was kind of like cool and normal, and as soon as like it's just started getting into like the attack violence, it seems like he just like flipped a switch, like, fuck it then. I want to murder.
Yeah, like it's like a bloodlust. He felt fun.
And his death was fun. And it was funny though in a way of like, I didn't take it seriously. I think I even laughed when he died.
Yeah, you did.
Because there's like this is like an over the top horror movie at this point. I'm just like, you're gonna give him just the most ridiculous, like crushing death.
Definitely one of the big things along with that death, I feel is very important to talk about, is the fact that the whales talk. I did not expect talking animals in this movie.
You should stress they don't like open their mouths and say
they speak with sound that apparently they can understand. The Na'vi can, and they understand sign language. They can understand speech too, but they understand sign language better.
Maybe all of the animals of Pandora can do that.
I don't know what it is about that one in particular. It just was very jarring. But then the second time around, I'm like, you know what? That's actually not that bad. I kind of like this, but also it seems very, for lack of a better word, it just seems very Disney out of nowhere.
And again, there feels like in that middle sloppy section, there feels like there's episodes of an Avatar show that wasn't made, just shoved in here. Like, here's the one where the kid meets a whale and like we learn the whale's backstory. And the whale had a real hard time and he's an outcast. Why is he an outcast? Stay tuned.
The whales are so intelligent, but yet apparently none of them will
and they
talk
have their
to the
own
dude whose family died.
They have their own like civilization way of doing things. So again, fuck it, dude. Make a whole movie about the whales.
I mean, the main whale, the one that dies, has matching tattoos with the queen. Like they tattooed a
Well,
whale.
good. Well, because it is. They bring it up. It is a thing that every one of the water tribe Navi like has a brother sister whale.
Which is like, I guess the equivalent for the forest Navi would be the Ikran.
Could be. I mean, because
But
yeah,
the only thing is they don't speak.
Their water strider things don't seem to be like that's not a big deal. Like,
like
get
the
one, you
fish.
grab one, do whatever. Let's talk about as we wind down a little bit. Let's talk about the ending because this is where I have a big issue.
Like I said,
it gives
there's
me
a
the
lot
action
I could talk about,
and there is fun action in it.
I think the ending.
There's two things for me.
Okay,
one,
you know what? Let's talk about something you liked about the ending.
The action was really good. I mean, if I'm being legit,
the action was amazing. It's the selling point of the movie.
90% very well filmed, cool stuff, good effects. I mean, there's a couple scenes where again, actual real sets do stand out in this movie.
You can tell the difference between the two
because it's a weird lighting thing they're doing where it looks fake.
The real,
which is weird
fake.
Considering that everything else is actually fake. And this is the biggest praise I'm going to give this movie. Goddamn, on a technical level. This one I do think will hold up better than the first one.
I looked at some scenes side by side from it, and it already like.
And they're like the first one, even when I saw it when it came out, I felt like, well, yeah, it's CG. Like I could tell. I mean, it's good, but like it's CG.
There's some scenes in this.
This one,
oh my god.
There were times I had to remind myself, like the Navi aren't real. Like that's. I mean, Zoe Saldana is really there, but like this isn't. That's not her. It was the pores, something within their teeth and their smiles. I know you had the eyes got you. And then also the water. Some of it was like, I know they did film real stuff underwater, but.
Water is a very easy thing to do with CG, but also a very hard thing to do.
Believably.
Making it look real.
And there were times when stuff would happen. I was watching like how the splash effect would work and like, did he film this on real water
for this?
Splash?
Yes.
And everything that's blending is like, all of this is coming, like, this is great. And the action does look good. Again, why I got bummed after the beginning, because the beginning action also, like, this looks really good.
Yeah.
And hey, what do I really want from James Cameron? Good fucking action, because the dude knows how to do it. So those are the things that I did like I loved about this movie. And you know what? Kiri,
the little girl.
Well,
Sigourney Weaver.
The 70-year-old teenager.
Yes.
I really did like Kiri a lot.
I can't.
Sigourney's. I like her performance as her more than the doctor she played.
That's a genuinely a fair thing to like comment on. Like,
and when she was in danger, when stuff was happening to her, that was the only time where I actually was like, oh no.
Yeah, like
I was emotionally involved. Everything else, even when spoiler alert, the other kid dies.
Yeah,
which I'll give credit. The way it was shot, like if you look in the background, you can see it happen. I saw it. I was like, I wonder if that did happen, or if I'm just like seeing things. I was like, nope, he got shot. He's bleeding. He's dead. I was like, great, dude. That's cool. That's what I love in filmmaking, when you do stuff that you don't showcase, but it's back there.
I feel like that one too was a great example of subverting expectations. Because I mean, really, you built up the middle kid to be the one that's like, kind of seems like he's going to be the one to die, which hurts this character dying because you didn't get enough time building him. So
I didn't really care.
He doesn't care.
And I didn't even care about the impact it had on the family.
But for me, I agree.
Other than like seeing Natiri
until
go beast mode.
The moment that Natiri starts crying, I'm like, oh, shit. This is.
And again,
this is good.
The technical work was like, I mean, I don't feel anything on this level, but like, that looks great.
So for me, emotionally, that did not do anything, but it did excite me because it was like, she's about to go crazy. And then immediately, this is my favorite part of the ending, is her killing everyone on the boat. Not only Jake is like, hey, I got to have you with me. She doesn't even reply to him. She just gets on her bird and she leaves.
I guess that's what we're supposed to see, is like they've been married. Like that's their married communication. She doesn't need to say anything. Like, we got it.
But that's also just how
just
crazy
like,
she is.
She doesn't need you.
She's
going to take this.
So when she starts fighting, the entire time she is on the boat, she is silhouetted like an actual monster. You don't see her in full light or her face in full light. You just see her like flipping around, shooting people. At first, she's silent.
And they pretty much clean up the core Avatar squad.
She gets everyone.
And so again, it makes me question, why did you guys even bother copying their brains and doing this?
And then that's when you see at the end, she finally kills the last guy by stabbing him in the chest. And that's when you finally see her face in full light. And she just like has this crazy scream with her, like, you can just see on like the expression detail on her face, like she is like up, which is also like insane since that's not a real thing. That's not a real creature. And it just had more emotion than half the movies I've ever seen from Marvel.
I'm going to touch back on the visuals as we wrap up because that's something I would say that I felt when I exited the theater. But without going deep into it, my 2 issues with the ending are this.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the ending. And now we can go to the issues.
My issues are the water people who have a reason to be helping Jake deal with this because all of their kids are captured. Don't worry about how it happened. It was with the whale and it just happened.
They disappear.
As soon as they get their kids, they're just gone. And I don't mean like they're turn tail and run. Like the movie does not.
They are just literally gone.
They're in a scene and then they just aren't.
In the second time around, I tried to like watch to see if there's in the background, like if maybe they're still fighting. But it's like, no, it's like as soon as that ship crashes, they're gone.
And Sully's family, like they're not even mentioned. It's just
the only one that's still with them is the princess.
It's Sully's and Quaritch and the princess, who now seemingly is just part of the Sully family because like that's how it works with the Sullys. Like if you're around us long enough,
she's in love with the middle son.
I know she is, but it's just like again because of that, she's like, well, now you're in here. Like you're in our gravitational pull for about 2 days, which means you're part of our family.
My problem with
and this is the other part.
Okay, sorry, man.
If you thought Return of the King had numerous endings, this tops that by just having it in the same action scene.
I was going to say the same thing.
And I think it thinks it covers its ass by having one character state, I cannot believe I'm trapped on the boat again.
Yeah.
Actually, that made it worse. And also, it's not the last time they will get off and go back to the boat.
Yes.
Again, after saying it. It was like, there's no reason for any of this to happen. And then guess what? None of it fucking mattered because Quaritch didn't die. The kid that died already, like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. There's no reason to keep going back to the fucking boat other than I think James Cameron wanted to film a Titanic scene again.
I think he did.
And
there's some scenes that actually felt like that one movie, The Poseidon. Is that what that movie's called?
Poseidon Adventure.
Yes. Where like just like doors inside the ship where it was upside down, which this one was. They start flooding with water and people get sucked in and they have to figure out a way to get out. This is what it started feeling like at the end of the movie. It's like, this is Poseidon Adventure.
And again, if you wanted to do that, if you wanted to have that be the end, the denouement of this action climax, cool. Cut out 10 other minutes of them being rescued, going back, getting caught again, being rescued, going back, getting caught again. And I'm not being hyperbolic. That's literally what fucking happens.
Keeps happening. So my problem is, okay, very cool scene at the end. Quaritch has the daughter. He's like, I'll kill her. I'll do it. You lay down.
Terry grabs Spider.
And which is also like,
son for a son.
Which is also like, okay. But also we've established that she doesn't like him. If we had that first part from the comics, it'd make it better. But this
I commented to you, I think that day too is like, seemed like they just said at the beginning because they needed to cover what happens at the end because it never comes up again.
But also it's like, she cuts him and stuff and it's like, oh man, I wish you were in this movie because I want more of you. So like all that entire thing was actually more tense than anything to the point it's like it seemed like Quaritch was actually more afraid of her than he was of Spider dying.
I wish there had been one exchange of dialogue about how she feels about Spider so that I even more believe like I also believe she'll kill this fucking kid. And I mean I did even in that moment, but it was like I could believe it more and be even more like she's gonna kill this kid.
Yeah. And which I'm glad she didn't because I don't want to see her kill a kid. I like to see her being scary, but I don't really want to see her.
Interesting character turn.
It would be, and
it would give Quaritch more motivation.
So that's what fucks with me so much is Quaritch immediately is like, all right, I'll let her go. She lets him go. She still has the knife in her hand. Why don't you just lunge forward and kill him? Like, there's nothing's gonna.
You know why?
She's good
again.
Because no, Jake's got to fight him.
It's got to be that, but also because Cameron can't come up with another. Like, there's not another villain for him to come up with that people are going to like or
the fact that it had the same shot of him pulling
the
knife out. You actually like.
I did laugh out loud.
You laughed out loud in the theater
because it's dumb. It's a dumb callback.
It is.
I'm all for callbacks and cyclical fictional storytelling, but like that dude, really?
Yep.
Like, would you have done this if this movie came out 5 years after the first one? Would you still have done this?
It's very strange. It's like there's also some other things. It's just like, okay, you have Jake,
and also, hey, bro, that didn't work last time for you.
Oh, sorry, what'd you say? Did you say bro?
Yeah, bro.
We didn't talk about that, bro.
No, we didn't, but we don't need to. Like,
bro.
But it comes back to even him and Jake's fight. He chokes him out, and I felt something there because I was like, oh man, I hope he didn't kill Corch because like
Uh,
he's an interesting character actually.
the entire time I was thinking choking someone underwater.
And then it was also dumb.
You,
And then
that
Spider
you're-
goes and saves
when
him.
you choke someone, you're cutting their air supply off. Yeah, you already ain't breathing.
Which
It's not
is-
doing anything.
which is twofold. Well, that's another issue too of like how long can Navi
Okay.
hold their breath underwater?
So
'Cause
this
it's
this
inconsistent.
is something that in the second watch I actually wrote this down on my notes. They did a thing like they did in the first movie with like the passage of time. You can see Jake's hair growing and his beard and stuff starting to grow in his
Mhm.
human form. This one, the queen was barely pregnant at the beginning. To at the end, she is like 9 months pregnant. So you can see the track of time.
So you're saying they learn to hold their breath?
That's
better?
literally what it was. That's how they do it. Is they just increase their lung capacity enough
Okay.
that they can breathe, but not breathe underwater, but stay underwater.
That's cool. Corch didn't get that training.
He did not.
And
That's
after,
what-
after
he
Jake
should be
choked him
dead.
out and dropped him in the water, and then him and Spider escape,
There's
and
no
Spider goes
reason
back.
for him to not be dead.
And it literally does feel like Spider brings him up on a rock, Corch leaves, and it's just like, see you in the sequel.
Literally.
And again, while I was somewhat relieved, I'm like, good, because like you're cartoonish over the top in the first one. This one,
Felt
You-
like he brought him more serious.
you have some level of duality because like you're not Corch, but you are everything that Corch was, and like maybe this is also Corch facing his own demons.
I did say too, I think I mentioned it to someone else, but throughout the entire movie, Corch does not kill anyone or anything. He only orders it. So technically, he's never dirtied his hands. So I
he
think
wants-
they can make him an
The
anti-hero.
blood he wants on his hands is Jake Sully's blood.
Yeah, yeah, Jake Sully's.
But
My
I was-
Jake.
I was relieved. I was like, I'm glad you're alive. But I was equally like, you're fucking alive. Seriously, dude. Like,
I think they're gonna go
can
ahead
this
and make
movie
him.
A, have a
good guy.
consequence. B, can you let go of anybody except for Michelle Rodriguez? Michelle Rodriguez is the only person in the Avatar franchise thus far to like, fuck you, you're gone.
She's gone. Like you said,
Even
about
Giovanni
Spider.
Ribisi gets to show back up in this one.
She. Oh God, he does.
And you know what? We don't know. He might be in the third one.
So the other thing I wanted.
Also, the new mechs are even dumber. Sorry.
Dude, they're really
Somehow
stupid.
they're just like, we took more stuff off of them and made them more spindly.
They're
Does
like-
that work for you?
They're like, I
No.
think they even in the comic book I was reading, they called them stilts, which is that's what they are.
Which, I mean, I guess they're supposed to be for construction or whatever. They're not military.
Well, you see
But
the
then-
fucking woman fighting with it.
But then, yeah, they use them. And also,
The handshake, yeah. It was
I know
dumb.
it's supposed to be kind of funny. And I think Quarch kind of did it in the first one too. But like having her sip her coffee.
in the same angle.
And again, there's another one of those callbacks. Of like, it's not. This
The
isn't-
movie is not old enough to deserve nostalgic callbacks.
and also, these things you're pulling out, like, these aren't iconic. And
They're not.
it's not as funny as I think you think it is, James.
I will say the
Jimmy C.
knife pulling out, that was actually, I like that one.
Maybe I would have tolerated more if there hadn't been so many other ones. And also
I think
so
so,
many
too.
beats of this being the same.
And this is the biggest one for me, is the whale killing scene. Very high action, actually really entertaining. But they play the same music as the tree falling, which I'm like, that feels less serious. This is bad. This is very bad. But the tree falling and all those people dying, the amount of people and animals that died with the tree falling warranted that type of a score more. Where repeating it here felt so wrong.
I can agree with you. I do know there's elements of the score that are actual repeated lifted tracks from the first score.
Well, but the score
Because
that
it's-
score is amazing. That particular song.
Because the first movie was, of course, it was filmed by or composed by James Horner, who's dead.
Yes.
And this new composer, I think, is also trying to pay tribute and homage to that.
Which was completely fine. I just thought that music there at that part was misused. It should have been somewhere else.
But at the same time, like that was the climax of this
It
movie.
was.
This was the home tree scene of this movie.
I don't know where else you could have put that song if you want to use that, but it was just like, I don't know, it just felt almost out of place. But I will say, the bravery to have the hyper realistic dead animal on screen with its like eyeballs like in the back of its head is genuinely disturbing and uncomfortable to look at. And I think it did a really good job of showing that, especially with the dead calf right next to it.
So like I said, there's a lot of good stuff in this, a lot of bold stuff. I do think this is a better movie than the first one.
After watching it a second time, I agree.
but I still think both of them are too long. And this is weird coming off of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which was also like, hey, you don't want to see a water movie about some blue people doing stuff?
I was surprised of how little they had in common, though.
Well, I mean, they're both Disney, so like I'm sure Disney was like, all right, if there's anything similar between these two, like you're gonna cut this shit out.
In our Black Panther review, I was like, I feel like there's a bunch of scenes that are gonna make it over, like people jumping off a whale, like jumping out of the water, and I'm like, oh, that actually really didn't happen.
I would take out a huge chunk of the middle of this movie. I would re-edit the ending of the movie.
I honestly,
and I believe you could get this down to a 2-hour, 30-minute movie.
I think if you did that, adding in the comic book as the beginning of the movie is almost needed. Just because so much of that context that's in those comics are needed.
And it's wild. I mean, to a degree at this level, if this is the length of storytelling he wants to do, like,
why not?
Just make this a streaming show, dude. Just make a TV show. James?
No, I wouldn't make a show.
I'm telling, get the same budget, same like
that's not cinema
level. That's true. And I agree, because I said earlier, like, you should go see this in theater. This is a theatrical experience.
Yeah, I don't think.
And I would argue, like, you should see this in 3D. Even if you don't like 3D, like, that is how this is meant to be seen. And there were numerous scenes, more so than, because I saw Black Panther in 3D as well. There's more in this where I was like, wow, that's really cool looking.
Yeah, there's a few things that got me.
And I think maybe sometimes James also was like, this is really cool. I'm going to do 5 more minutes. I was like, let's not overdo it, dude.
Yeah.
I think that's what this has a lot of. But I don't know. Part of this makes me miss the days where a movie being 2 hours and 10 minutes long was like, well, this is kind of a long movie. Usually you wrap this up in 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours.
I will say the first time it did not feel as long as it was.
I was never squirming.
Because I
noticed how many times there's a lot of people who got up various times during the movie.
I'm one of them.
Oh yeah, you did. I forgot about that.
And actually I missed an important part. I was like, surely nothing crazy will happen at this part. So I missed the entire scene where she has a seizure when she connects to the underwater tree.
But
which
arguably,
is the setup for the sequel.
It's kind of not important because that's never talked about again in this movie.
So that's why when I watched it the second time, I got to that scene and I was like, oh, okay. Wait, why didn't she connect again? Oh, that
and on that note too, like they show stuff with her like with literally like the grass moving around her in a very specific way.
Well, I mean the ending,
her first like time underwater, like stuff is coming up to her in a very specific way. Yeah. And at one point she's like napping. I don't know if it's Spider or one of the other or one of her brothers. Yeah, but she's like, was I doing the thing again?
Was it happening again?
So I'm sorry, when she has the seizure after touching their version of Home Tree or AWA or whatever, Jake just buys like, yeah, I guess that was just that. It's like, dude, do you not? You said in your narration, overdub narration, no one understands how she was born, why she came out of dead Avatar, that you have decided to keep in some sort of stasis.
She's still alive and in stasis.
How do you not like this? This is the thing for me. It's like, this is the bad storytelling. It's like, it's obvious as fuck what she is. I don't know why you're hiding it even from the audience. Like, we all can see it. Like, I get it, dude. She's like the embodiment of AWA come to life. I got it.
Very, very strange on that.
But you're like, nope, I'm going to hold out. That's a secret. Don't you worry. It's a plot reveal for movie number 4.
Yeah. There's more things that we could totally talk about with this one, but it's just like, it's such a long movie that you could sit here all day long.
It puts me in a better perspective of, will I be excited or anxious to get to the next Avatar? No. But will I be there opening weekend, whether we're doing the show at that point or not? Probably.
Yeah, I am looking forward to it.
But part of me will be, I'll be going in open-minded again, but in an angry fashion of, you better fucking say that Kiri's god AWA.
Yeah.
And also pick a character and stick with them and just follow fucking plot thread through.
Yeah. Biggest thing for me though is, like I said, just so little context to a lot of the stuff that needs to be explained. I feel like the underwater breathing is one of those things that needed to be explained better.
And isn't that weird when you have a 3 hour and 20 something minutes?
I think that's my problem too with it.
Again, say what you will about him and the fact he got to even do this 4 hour cut, but like Zack Snyder's Justice League at 4 hours, like, all right, you perfectly explained everything that's fucking happening.
Yeah.
I mean, as you should, because you have 4 hours to do so.
I mean, Return of the King, I swear, is like 5 hours.
But I'll even argue the theatrical cut of that movie enough is like, I've explained enough that this makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the extended one's just like, do you want to see more of stuff?
Yeah, it adds more things that are like, oh, well, that actually makes more sense now.
But this is like, there's chunks that are missing. And again, the editing in that middle it's weird.
It is strange. It's the specific scene where Jake is learning to ride one of the flying fish, and it cuts with Korra trying to train an Ikran.
That's the
Did
moment
you?
where I thought like we're gonna cut back and
Yeah.
forth. Let's
It,
no, then we go to like the kids underwater doing
yeah.
stuff, and
It cuts back for like one moment with Jake finally learning how to fly it.
which also, by the way, relatively doesn't ever come back into
Doesn't-
play.
yeah,
I mean, he
really.
needed to do that regardless. I get it, and like
Yeah.
I guess it's a fun scene.
I mean, he doesn't because he rode there with his Ikran.
Also, I kind of was like, hey, what happened to your Ecrons?
Yeah,
'Cause,
dude, he
like,
just abandoned that too.
they can't live here, can't because they're
But
none of
Neytiri's
them.
does.
There's a lot. There's a lot that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So that one scene in particular, I think, is the best example of the weird, sloppy editing. I think the biggest cultural impact that this one had, though, is the new Avatar Navi wearing the sunglasses. He's a meme.
I haven't seen that, but I did think it was also cool during the insurgency runs where like, oh hey, some of the Navi are just straight up using machine guns.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even question. I just assumed some of that shit probably got left behind before.
I mean, that's what the comics explains.
And also from your insurgency runs, like you show us them pick them up from the crates too. So it's like, oh, you've been also taking the weapons. I like the idea of the Navi literally evolving of like, we won't just use bows and arrows. Like, fuck it. Like, I'll learn how to use a gun.
But
That was neat to me.
But then there was nothing.
Now, so do you think in the third one, is he going back to the Hallelujah Mountains? Or no, we got to go find a new tribe of Navi. So we have a new thing to learn about.
The new tribe will be a villainous Navi.
The Fire Nation.
The Fire ones. That's actually already been confirmed. And they also announced
it's funny how much
he's
he's also literally following the actual Avatar. Because isn't the Fire Nation the bad one in Avatar?
It is. And but they did, as of today, they announced that Jake will not be narrating the next movie. It'll be Loak.
There doesn't need to be any narration.
Does not need to be narration at all.
I mean, if they wanted to announce Jake will no longer be the main character, like, got it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. That's really all I had to say about Way of Water.
It was a movie. And again, it was a theatrical experience. I'm glad that I saw it in theaters. I enjoyed my time there. Now, here's what I was going to say. Walking out of the theater the first time, where you were like, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if I like this. I don't think I like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I liked it better than the last. Like, I was in a weird position of like, I liked it better. I liked it.
I didn't hate it.
I don't think that it's
sure.
great because of everything I've just said in this conversation. But I left that movie wanting to watch, again for me, Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah.
Which is not directed by James Cameron, but is produced by him. And it's the movie he wanted to direct.
He wrote it.
Like he wanted to make it and then just wasn't able to. And now he's wrapped up in Avatar. So
it was actually a coin flip between making Avatar or Battle Angel. And he decided to make Avatar instead, literally on like random chance.
Because I think both also for him came down to like the technology.
It was the technology.
Being there, not being there to get it done the right way.
So
eventually
Battle
Robert
Angel
Rodriguez
came out in 2009.
Rodriguez got the job.
Yeah.
And
because they're friends.
And look, it's not a great movie. It's not bad though. It actually is on its own a good movie and maybe the best anime adaptation to live action that's been done.
I've heard that. Like I said, I've still never seen it.
But seeing all the technical wizardry here in Avatar, my first thought was then no movie anymore has, no Disney movie for sure has any fucking room to not, I'm not saying you got to be at this exact level, but like nothing should look like shit.
Every movie should feel ashamed of themselves.
This dude figured it out. And again, the cultural impact of the first one, by and large, would be like, here's how 3D cameras work.
The thing is, like, majorly the reason this movie got pushed back for so long is one, the pandemic, because he's like, I want this to be a full theatrical release. But two, because he was also making the other sequels during making this one, which is also like unprecedented. But taking that long to do it was actually, I feel,
if part of the artistry of it was, this is the time it takes to get things to look this way. All right, Marvel, then you need to take your time.
That's I think.
If you think that waiting an extra year will mean people won't care anymore, then maybe you shouldn't have made this movie.
That's, I think, like seeing that this movie and Thor came out the same year. I keep going back and ragging on Thor, but it deserves to be hated.
And don't forget, technically the same studio. Yes, these Avatar sequels started under Fox, and this one was probably finished.
I'll add this then in too, though. Jon Favreau made that shit for The Lion King. technically, I'd say Disney has a stake in that. And yet you take that technology to make animals look real, but you don't use it for like this movie with giant animals.
Yeah, dude, that's another thing too.
They have this technology.
And he'll never say it, but I think Favreau in making The Lion King, I think for him this is just a technical
Absolutely.
test. So he'd probably argue like, we don't need to remake The Lion King, and this isn't a live action remake. This is still animated.
Well, then he made that, then immediately started making Mandalorian, which also that's a trailer we missed.
But it was, oh no, because I'm not going to watch it because I just want to watch the show, so I don't need to see.
That's fair.
I know you sent it to me, and I was like, it's great. But I think that was a test for the volume screen,
but yeah,
and for Unreal, because I think a lot of it uses Unreal Engine 5.
Yes, it does.
And like, what can we do with it? And it's like, clearly, you can fucking make everything look like it's real.
And meanwhile, James Cameron has his own version.
But yeah, I walked out and going like, Alita also had some really, I mean, the effects look like effects. But
the eyes were the uncanny valley thing that people hated.
But also when you watch the movie, it plays into that. And if you look at the manga, if you look at the anime, it's like, well, it's anime. Her eyes are this big. And eventually you sink into it with Alita. It's like, you don't even see it anymore. It's like, yep. And when stuff happens to her, you feel like, oh no. For seeing it's like, come on,
maybe
dude,
I'll try to watch it this weekend.
And people want, even when I finished the movie, which I mean, I watched it when it came out on Blu-ray, and I was like, I mean, it sets itself up for it specifically sets up a sequel. It's not even like hinting's like, no.
I heard that. I heard it's a trilogy.
Like we only adapted like a third of the manga.
Yeah,
people want it. Like I know it didn't do great, but like the people who saw it, like they wanted it, and they also see like we see where you're going,
and I think
that's what we want.
Yeah, and
I think you have an audience for it, and it's like. This shows that if Disney, who now owns it clearly, like if you put your marketing weight behind it, because I think that was the issue with Fox, like they didn't know how to market it. It deserves that run. And shit, John Landau, the producer of Cameron's producing partner.
Yes.
He also, I mean, he's mentioned like, yeah, like we talk about it. Like we want to do it. I was like, you guys have all the money in the world. Why can't you just make Disney?
It's like, I mean, even looking at like the Star Wars movies that came out, there's some awful CGI. And I think the biggest thing with the Star Wars things of the ones that I actually watched was them trying to do the creature effects and then just making them look awful, or then just covering a piece of it in CGI, which is also like, meanwhile, James Cameron is over here. He doesn't even have a guy in a costume.
No, and give him credit because, like, again, I know I've said it on our show numerous times. Like, I want practical effects. I want a practical puppet. Effects.
But when you
even if I look at it and go like,
poor,
that's a puppet. It's still like, well, it's there. But in this movie, kind of like, I mean, higher level here, but kind of like how I felt in the first Transformers. I was like, I know this is not real, but goddamn, if that doesn't, I don't. My mind is being blurry now because like I believe that this is real, and I know that it's not.
Jurassic World Dominion's defense. Its creature effects were all really well done. Some of its CGI wasn't the best, but all the actual creature effects, I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally buy that dinosaur is actually breathing and alive.
I think the effects are good. I think Colin Trevorrow's shooting of it was not good.
Yes. That's an entire conversation we could have, but mixing into always, like I said, Thor, Love and Thunder, you have a child's head appear floating. One thing, it's a real kid. How the hell do you make him look so fake? Then you go back and CGI a different version that looks maybe
the
worse.
Saddest part about that is whatever VFX artist did it, they probably also know like this looks like shit.
Yeah.
But I don't have the time or energy to do anything more.
Like they just literally cannot.
Here you go. Good enough, right?
It's just like it's like mind-boggling to see that compared to this.
There's an interview with Taika Waititi where they're going over stuff, and he even mentions it. Does that look good? And Tessa Thompson, who's there with him, is like, no, not really.
Yeah.
It's like, so you know that like you're the director, dude. Like this is your movie. Like you have say over this. I mean, it's a Marvel movie, so I guess no, you don't have say over.
Not really. But still, it's like those other studios really should feel ashamed after this one.
And again, I know Cameron is a master of the visual effects thing. That's his thing.
He always has been.
He won't let certain things go. But again, Marvel, anyone who's doing effects heavy stuff, like take your time. The point of it, I mean, again, that's the point of Top Gun, right? It was a lot. It only used CG when it had to. It's a lot of practical stuff, and that's what thrilled people. Is like, oh, they did this shit for real.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do CGI, that's what Jurassic Park was. The CGI in that wasn't just like it was. Wow, this is amazing that we can do this, right? But it's also because Spielberg knew, like, here's when we use it for this.
Yep.
And when we don't have that, which is what the Jurassic World movies were missing, well, his expert shooting style. But
to an extent.
the framing and the doing of the practical prop, and then mixing in the CG, and also just they weren't the first one was in an action movie, so it didn't have to do all the stupid shit the Jurassic World movies did. But
yeah.
Take your time. I would rather wait 3 to 4 years for a sequel to this movie.
Yeah.
If it means like, wow, that looks great.
I think the biggest thing too is for a lot of just movies in general, I'm okay waiting. It doesn't have to come out fast.
It's a concern of they've got to capitalize why things are hot, why people are into it. But it's like, you're misjudging. Again, if you think that your property can't hold someone's attention for a 5-year period, then you probably shouldn't make the sequel.
It's probably bad.
Can you do it and make money in 2 years? Yeah, but then you're going to ruin the IP. You're going to run it to the ground. Like, either don't do it or do it right.
That's why like Star Wars is dead, yet Mandalorian still lives on because it was competent.
And I think it was 1.5 years or 2 years in between the first season and second season.
Yeah. It's been
had a gap between season 2 and 3 of that
pretty
too.
Big gap.
Also, there are only 8 episodes a season because they're also just like, you know what? We're just keep it tight. This is our budget. This is the story. We don't need
simple.
To do 10, 12 things.
Then you have Boba Fett, which is like possibly one of the worst things they ever made.
And it was technically Mandalorian 2.5 because 2 of its 8 episodes were just like, okay,
they gave
Mandalorian. So you're telling me a quarter of this dude's own show is also really just this other guy's show?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're getting kind of bored. So, and I'll be honest, dude, those are the 2 best episodes of the Book of Boba Fett.
Only ones that are worth watching.
But I'll throw out John Wick. Like those guys also, like they're taking their time, and their movies are stunt based. That's what they're doing it for. Instead of just rushing, they're like, nope, do it as we need.
I think waiting is definitely a good time. As far as script writing goes, maybe spend a little bit more time on it next time. I'm thinking.
Well, I mean, they're all written apparently. You're talking about Avatar, right?
Yes.
So
I think that you have like I said, it always goes back to apparently they did not know what to do for an actual sequel for Avatar. So this one almost feels like a reboot. It doesn't actually feel like a sequel.
It does, which is the other weird part of like
movie 1.
Do you need to see the first one? I don't know.
Which when they did re-release that, they added in an extra scene at the end.
Of course they did.
Where douchebag walks up to Jake and Neytiri tries to stab him. And he's speaking when he's leaving the planet. And he's just like, you know this isn't over, right? And then he turns around and leaves.
We're going to be back in 13 years.
Yeah, that's literally what he like added in. Like that was the scene.
We'll see you when Black Adam comes out.
Oh, Dwayne.
So at this point for me, I don't expect the Avatar sequels to get better in their plotting or writing. But I'm just going to.
I actually do.
I guess I can accept that. Just like this is
graphically, I don't see how anything can get better than this at this time.
I don't come to these for expert storytelling. I come to go, wow, look at the spectacle that you put on screen.
And be ready, more than ready enough to forget about this halfway through the year.
When we come to Avatar 4, I will have high bar set of like, all right, dude, you said this was the one. This is the one that we've been building to, the good one, the good script.
Did you say the bar?
Bro, the bar?
The bar?
Bar, bro.
Well, let's have James Cameron play us out then. This has been Shallow Cinema, and I'm Nemo.
I'm Blackjack Bauer, and I guess this is Jimmy C.
Yeah, and this is it. Have a good one.
His name is James Cameron, the bravest pioneer. No budget too steep, no sea too deep. Who's that? It's him, James Cameron. James Cameron, explorer of the sea, with a dying thirst to be the first. Could it be? It's him, James Cameron. James Cameron, the bravest pioneer. No budget too steep, no sea too deep. Who's that? It's him, James Cameron.